Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Self-Evident Podcast. It is podcast number 51. We are killing it, y'all. It's going to be amazing. 51. We're almost at 52. You know what that means.
53 is after that?
Hey. We've been doing this for a year, man. A year in, man. Podcast is really hard to do, actually. Sometimes it's not hard to do as far as doing it. Researching, trying to find the time because we both work full time, both ministries, and then trying to do the podcast. It's kind of like, and he does a lot of different other projects on the side, just as much as I do. So it's really difficult to do all this all the time, but we love doing it. So podcast 51. Actually, we tried to do this several days ago. We were about a half hour in and we were rolling, man.
It was going
We
well.
were rolling. And then all of a sudden I realized, wait, his channel isn't working.
There's no mic on the mic.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And so we both threw our headphones down and said, forget it. We're going home. And we went home.
We went home. And we came back a couple of days later.
Yeah. It gave us a little bit of a respite. We're probably shouldn't have stopped what we did.
So you may notice that it came out a little bit late.
Yeah.
That is the excuse for why it came out a little bit late.
But thank you for tuning in anyways. Thank you guys for all the love and the support. Guys, if you guys love this video, subscribe and share. And as a matter of fact, you should do more than that. Subscribe, share, support. Go on theselfevidenttruth.com. Support us, man. We could use it. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We got the October 12th event coming up.
Yes, we do.
Government versus God conference, which is going to be fun. 4 different events are going on. We're going to be talking about the First Amendment. We're going to talking about the faith of the founders, what faith established America. Talking about the authority of the Supreme Court. What authority does it have? It doesn't, actually. And the 4th topic is socialism versus Christianity. So we're going to be talking a lot about, there's a difference between, it was Allie Stuckley. Did you hear that one where she said, unfortunately, and she goes, unfortunately, that the Holy Spirit is not Bernie Sanders. So it was really good what she said. I was like, oh, like she took a shot. She's right. And those clips are worth it to share. And, I love people like that are standing up for the gospel of Christ and they're actually taking the word serious. And, they're not bowing down to dictates and edicts and they're not wishy-washy. They do study and show themselves approved. And it's really cool. So that way we can defend the faith truly. Right?
And if you have any questions about that, you're interested, we do have the promo up on our YouTube channel. I will make sure that the end card has a link for you. I'll actually put one in the suggestion box right now. So I hope I pointed to the right side.
I like it.
We'll see.
I like it.
This side, that side, both sides.
Guys, also Mike's going to be in Ohio here at the end of October, which is exciting.
So you better be there.
Yeah, better be there. All of our Ohio folks that do attend these events, come on, listen to this dude, man. He's got some good stuff to say, and he's joining the Self-Evident team. We're growing little by little, piece by piece, and it's really exciting. And you know what's crazy? I thought this was going to go differently. If you'd asked me a year and a half ago, right? Like, remember, you'd asked me, like, what's the vision of Self-Evident? I'm like, man, we're going to have 3 national speakers, 2 international ones talking about freedom and liberty. And he's taking me out of the mix almost and let you guys and, a couple others come on and kind of do what they're doing. And it's kind of cool to see, and we're working through it. It's not easy doing this, so your financial support is always appreciated. Please do that. I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but guys, we need help. I'm really tired. And I was talking to my wife, and if you guys could hear me out in my venting here, I don't know if I'm going to leave this in or not, but I probably will. I'm really sick and tired of chasing money. Yeah. And people are like, well, if you have to chase it, it ain't the Lord. No, that's crap. People just don't know to give sometimes. But I really hate chasing people, or I should say I hate fundraising. I'm good at it, but I hate doing it. I hate it because it's like, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the gospel. And then some of you will say, well, if you focus on the gospel, God will take care of it. He has, and when He's supplied all of our needs, and we're right at the line. But I'm tired of being at the line. I want us to have abundance to grow so we can continue to grow. Not that we're always looking from faith to faith, that we're actually sustained. And I'm believing God for that. I'm believing God that, we can have money in the bank to do these projects like film October 12th and have that available. So we're not bothering donors, and that the people that actually have capital will see what we're doing. And we're unique. We're not the same kind of group. We're not just talking about conservative values and going to these Republican conventions and all these things. We don't do that stuff. We go to the schools. We go to the colleges. We go to places where people aren't going to get the vote out there, to teach them about constitutional ethic. Like Chris Ann Hall, dude, that to me, you may not like her, and that's okay, but I'm saying at least she's standing. I have nothing against her. At least she's standing. You know what I mean? Yeah. At least groups like Bill Federer and these guys, they're standing. They may not be popular. They're not always on Fox News, which we're not, and I don't care. But I'm asking for your financial support to help this ministry. And maybe we'll just make this a separate clip. We need help. And if you guys want to support, you have to go online and really help us in these efforts. We got a lot of stuff coming up that we need help for. Just product alone costs us money.
Yeah.
You know, so go ahead.
And at the very least, please click the subscribe button. I know every channel tends to do that on YouTube. And it gets cliche when people say it.
But that's the calling card. That's
and the reason we want subscribers is there. So if you don't know how a YouTube channel works, you actually have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewed hours in 12-month period in order to be able to monetize your videos. So if you're like, man, I don't have the money to donate, whatever, that's fine. At least just click the subscribe button.
And share it.
And share it. Help us get to 1,000 so that way we can start monetizing these videos and we can start doing more with our YouTube content. We can start doing more on the side.
Yeah, let's take it a step further. Businesses who want to sponsor us and bless us to go out there. Dude, we will promote you like none other. You know, we will. Everywhere I go, I talk about people who support, and I love people that support this because you're giving to something that's gospel spreading. It's not just talking about America. What made America great?
Yeah.
It's foundations, man. The Lord, God, our states acknowledge that he was the giver of rights. Well, how are they going to know that if we ain't preaching the gospel? You know what I mean? We got to talk about it. So we do that. And that's what your money's going to, is spreading the gospel, man. Guys, I think I said it. I didn't get a chance to say it when I was in Colorado. I was at a public school. It was like a charter school, but it was publicly funded, and they were doing public school things, you know, and teaching and stuff. So it was really odd. And they were like, you know, we need to see your slideshows, and I was like, cool, I don't care. Well, the slideshow didn't end up working. For some reason, it wouldn't go through. So what had happened was I've already memorized this stuff 100 times over. So I was talking about the pursuit of happiness because one of their what's their like symbols is virtue. So I was like, well, let's talk about that. What did the founders say about virtue? Because they brought me in to talk about history. I started talking about Benjamin Franklin when he talked about virtue and excellence, talked about the pursuit of happiness, what the word happiness means in the Greek, eudaimonia, where did it come from? You know, and all the stuff means, and happiness meaning virtue, excellence, in the 1828, all these things. But I started talking about morality. And when we did a question and answer with 500 kids, we'll put pictures up. Dude, there was question after question after question about where morality comes from, where virtue comes from. And I got to share my story and testimony and how Christ changed me. One kid asked me, hey, man, I got friends that are on the verge of suicide like you were. How did you get out of it? I got to tell him, you know, it's not cliche. It was Jesus Christ. I went through the whole story. After that, a couple of atheist kids came up to me, and the principal let me have a room with them for 45 minutes. And there was 5 kids in the room, and we got to witness to them for 45 minutes, answering all their objections. And then I started to pray with them. I started to talk to them about the gospel. No. And that gospel didn't make me moral. It made me holy. You know, all these things. That's what your money's going to. Do you realize that we get the opportunity to do this in a public school where people are afraid to go in and talk about I'm not. I don't care. I don't care. And I'm going to respect people, but I don't care because these kids need it. That is, sometimes with kids, man, you only got one shot at them. One shot. You got one shot at a kid to actually make a difference in their life. That's why we're doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Why waste my time doing a 4-lecture conference? You know why? Because we lack knowledge. So in order to destroy that, we have to give them knowledge. Yep. To tear down the foundations, what did he tell Gideon to do? Tear down your father's altars. Well, we got to tear down our father's altars, dude. People that have built up things in the past that aren't constitutional, that are not American, and they're ungodly. We got to tear them down. How do we do that? Through spiritual knowledge. Well, how do we do that? We teach, we learn, we go back in history, and you know what I mean? And I was shocked to find this out. Did you know that in high schools today, less than 20% of kids actually know enough to hold their own about American history? I found out some of these stats. I can go through them real quick. It's pretty fun, pretty crazy. Less than 20% of high school students are proficient in American history. 20%. Is it any wonder that they like socialism? That they think socialism is a good thing? No. Right? Or 43% of Americans now believe socialism is a good thing because they said Scandinavian countries have made it successful. You talked about this before, remember? Yeah. Only 21 out of 50 states have a statewide social studies or history exam that are issued more than once throughout the child's preliminary or secondary education. Is it any wonder that we're beating them up politically and that political shifts have been changing the way they have? We're not teaching them what the pitfalls of what happened. I was on the radio the other day, bro. I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. But I'm going. You can stop me at any time, man, and jump in.
Do what you need to do.
I was on the radio on Wednesday, And I was talking about Connecticut's first constitution. It was the first constitution in America, the Connecticut State Constitution, taken from a sermon by Reverend Thomas Hooker, right? And it was the consent. What is it? So the sermon was basically titled "The Authority of Law." Basically, is laid in the free consent of the people. So basically, the authority comes from the free consent of the people. And that was a sermon preached by Reverend Thomas Hooker, right? And that's how they wrote that Constitution. They took it from that sermon, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't public schools teach that? That's a pretty foundational thing to teach. That it was revered that much to make a constitution that established a state. You know what I mean? Why would they teach that?
Which becomes the bedrock and the beginning foundation of the national constitution. You know? And there's two possibilities of why that's not talked about. Either because people don't know it, and so it becomes just ethereal, off in the void, or
ethereal,
or they're doing it because they know the truth that it gives. Now, a lot of people will give that intention to them. I like the idea of don't subscribe evil intent to what could be ignorance, given to ignorance.
Oh,
I think it's more just ignorance of people don't know this information.
Right. Do you think that though I believe you're right in the teacher's case, when it comes down to curriculums written and you know what I mean, coming down from the government and what they approve, do you think that has? So what I'm saying is, I know the teachers may be ignorant. Yeah. I believe you.
I hear you.
But there's obviously an agenda to erode history.
I think so, and I think one of the things is it becomes pervasive, and so the cycle just continues itself.
Okay.
So when you go from edition to edition, you're not changing much. College students can attest to this. How much really changes in a book from one year to the next? Not a whole lot. So I kind of wonder if it was something that got left out, whether on purpose or not.
Right.
Especially somebody like Howard Zinn, which if you haven't looked him up, he's a very, very progressive socialist, hates America type historian. So what lens does he look at America through?
Right.
Very negative lens. So he's not going to put something that talks about the first constitution written in the colonies,
or anything that
it using a sermon. He's not going to talk about that.
Or he's not going to talk about anything that America's helped benefit and bring benefit
Precisely.
To, right?
And so as people create these curriculums, if they're not based in the Christian heritage or the true foundations of America, they don't even mess with that stuff and teach that stuff.
You notice that kid that the I can't remember his name, the young man that forgave the cop who shot his brother.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I can't think of it offhand either.
It's a different name. His brother was a different name, but I can't remember and maybe you could put the article up in the corner. But it's funny because when he started talking about, forgiveness and all these things and, all that stuff, I noticed that the media didn't fully report what he said. They were like, man forgives woman for killing brother. And they went so far, but they wouldn't say, man offers the gospel to the woman as redemption.
And that's happened several times.
Oh
where
my gosh.
It was very, very God-fearing, Christ-loving people who make this pronouncement of forgiveness.
Yeah, look at that good deed.
And it gets reported on, and it's just like, oh, look, so-and-so forgave so-and-so. Ain't
beautiful.
that nice?
Yeah, beautiful, isn't it?
And I agree with you that that's a real issue of, no, let's tell the full story.
Yeah, dude.
It was their faith that informed them to make this decision.
That's right.
And give this forgiveness.
Where did his forgiveness come from? Why was he even talking about it? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to believe that someone would just forgive someone just because.
Yeah.
Right? Because every man has a natural justice in his heart.
Yeah.
And so once we've been violated, we want to go and attack. And yet the gospel's so contrary to that. If you've been attacked, pray for those who persecute you and despitefully use you and curse you, the Bible says. Pray for those who curse you.
Yeah.
That's an antithetical thing to the flesh.
I'm glad you brought this up because I was listening to the radio today and they were talking about this event.
Yeah.
And it was now that you point out that the news articles kind of stopped short of saying like
the gospel,
the gospel,
it's only
was
the Christian
given
groups
this
writing about it.
Christian that was making forgiveness. It's just talked about as somebody gives forgiveness to somebody else, and they were trying to, these guys aren't Christians, so they're trying to weigh out why did this person say forgive you, and one guy, he basically came up with the theory of, well, it makes you feel better about the whole situation. It was almost like it's a emotional mental trick to make you feel better, so you don't stay bitter. But you're missing it.
Yeah,
you're missing the point here.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is to release you, absolutely,
from that burden of unforgiveness and bitterness, and
because otherwise it just drives you nuts and it pulls you down.
And dude, look what he said to her, because I want you to continue with that thought. Look what he said to her. He said, "My brother would want what was best for you." Listen to that.
Yeah.
My brother would want you to receive Christ, he said. He'd want you to receive Christ. That would be what I would tell you to do, he said. Bro, how did you skip that? You couldn't put that in the title? Man says brother would want her to receive Jesus as her savior. That's a headline.
And that is the power of Christ. That's why
they have to suppress it.
And the ingredient of Christ is so vital to that situation, because without Christ it becomes, well, it's for my betterment. Yeah. Which is almost a selfish idea, but we put a pause to that. There's a story of Abraham Lincoln. I'm just going to go on a bit of a train.
No, go for it.
Story, fable, legend, myth, whatever, of Abraham Lincoln. He was riding in a carriage across a bridge, and there was a pig, mama pig, who was watching her piglets drown. He runs down and saves the piglets. And somebody says, "What a great deed you did." And he said, "No, it was selfish because I did it because otherwise I would have felt horrible that I didn't do anything."
Right.
So almost this selfish intent. And if you give forgiveness without the ingredient of Christ, there's instead the intent to just relieve yourself of the pain and stress of the situation, which is what these guys on the radio were saying.
Right.
With Christ, it then becomes you're doing what you've been commanded to do. You're doing what's expected of you, and you're doing it for God's glory, not for your own. And that's what this guy was doing, was I'm doing this for God's glory. I'm doing this because I care about you, and I want to see you do better. I want to see you have healing in your life. And so I think without Christ, that situation just does not have the punch that it needs.
Right. And I think, too, if we can relate this, everything you just said, if we can relate this to current trends, they would see that, this kid could not have acted on his own. Even Martin Luther King calling for nonviolence. Okay, before I continue with this conversation, I want everybody to know out there, you and I are not trying to exploit this.
No.
We think what this kid did was beautiful. That takes a lot.
Yeah, it does.
To say that and mean it and break and want to hug. And that's noble.
Imagine walking up to the murderer of your close family member.
Bro.
The vast majority of Christians wouldn't be able to handle that.
And yeah, you're right. And it's, again, the idea is this young man took upon himself to go into a court system. You know what the judge gave the lady? It was a Bible. Why wasn't that said? You know what I mean?
Because atheist organizations would blow up on that.
Good. Let's talk about the First Amendment. That's what we're going to talk about on October 12th. Did you know that the First Amendment was written against the government, not against the people?
Yeah.
Practicing their religion, even as a judge.
Tell me.
It's crazy.
Judge gives a Bible to a person about to go to jail. These organizations will say that's an endorsement of religion. Where in the First Amendment does it say anything about endorsement?
Amen.
It only says about Congress
making law.
Congress shall make no law.
Done.
There was no law made.
Thank you. That's the purpose of the First Amendment.
It was a movement of tradition.
Yes.
A movement of belief, a movement of system, right? The American foundational system. Would you walk into a Muslim country in the Middle East and tell them they better not hand a Quran to one of their criminals?
Right.
You wouldn't tell them that. You go, that's their culture.
Their thing.
That's
it's their
who
religion.
they are.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Yep.
Why are we not allowed to have a religious culture?
Yeah.
People's separation of church and state. Once again, Congress shall make no law.
That's right. It's all about Congress here.
No law being made.
The Bill of Rights was written against the government making laws.
Precisely.
Against these specific rights God gave us. Okay?
If Congress came through and said, we believe that we are going to write a law that says every judge needs to hand a Bible to a person that's been sentenced. Okay. You have an argument.
A huge argument. A huge argument. And I would be for you. You know why? Because if I get someone in there who's a Satanist, they would turn that law against itself. I don't want to give the government any more authority. That's what this is about. I don't think that the atheists that listen to us or whoever, a non-godly or a Democrat or even conservatives, you don't get why we're saying this. You think we want a theocracy. Quite the exact opposite. I want government out of this stuff so you could be free. Atheists, listen to me. I want you to be free. To be free. Right? So you mean you want me to sin? No, I don't want you to sin. You're going to have the choice to do what you do. Right? Yes. The only thing you can't do is violate the rights of another. So in that sense, I'm a libertarian, right? But let's take it a step further. I'm not for the killing of the innocent, right? I do believe in law, and we have borders because we're a nation. That's what this is, right? And you abide by the Constitution that we have. That's it, unless amended, which I even question a lot of the amendments that were passed after the 10th, right? So there's a lot of things that I question constitutionally.
Which one of these days, and this
we will talk about it, yeah.
Well, and I want to discuss that with you at some point because I was thinking about the amendment process was put in for as a way to move the Constitution forward through the ages.
To do what?
To ensure that it stays with the times, so to speak. Okay, I'm not.
No, let's talk about it. No, this is good. This is good stuff.
Because they put the amendment process in there for a reason.
Yes.
So when the nation basically as a whole says we want this to be a part of our Constitution, they have that right and that outlet. And
so let's look at the amendment process under this lens, the Declaration's lens. What is the purpose of government? To secure rights.
To secure rights, to protect.
Any amendment after the 10th basically grew government's power.
And I agree with you.
That's where.
I agree with you. Yes.
Now, that's where I'm starting to say that's not what the Constitution was designed to do. It wasn't designed to give government power. That wasn't its purpose. It was to set bounds against the federal government, not against the American people. Now, these amendments and these current amendments that we have been used to berate the American people and businesses and force them and coerce them into doing what they want. Now, I'm not saying, like, I agree the whole thing with in the 60s with the Civil Rights Act, all these things. Obviously, there's some things that need to happen. And again, I question some of the motives that were used for a lot of these things. I do agree that there was obviously segregation that should not have happened, of course, right? And we needed government intervention with that, some of those things.
But it was also government enforced at the beginning.
That's exactly right.
And I've pointed that out to people of like, you talk about Jim Crow law. Jim Crow law.
That's right.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. A society or a culture turns its government follows suit. So yes, there was racism and everything that pushed for those laws to be enshrined. But guess what? Then the government got involved and started enshrining those laws.
That's right.
Segregation, Jim Crow, all of that.
Which
and then suddenly we had to have a civil rights movement to undo what the government shouldn't have been doing in the first place.
Because that's what happens with government. Dangerous government, man. That's what it does. Its only power is force. And we pay for it, guys. Yeah. Like literally, what was that thing? I read this quote. I can't remember where I read it. It was on Twitter or something. It said basically, we can't round up 12 million illegal immigrants, go house to house and try to round them up. But then when Bethel said we're going to we're going to take away your AR-15, so you're going to go house to house trying to find you know what I mean? That's crap. This is what I'm talking about. Bethel just said today too. This O'Rourke guy. I don't even know his name, and I don't even want to give him the time of day. But I'm going to say this. He said basically government can only be trusted with guns, but in a nutshell.
Which
Is that not funny?
Did you get my text that I sent you
Say it.
earlier?
Say it.
I said, isn't it funny that people who think Trump is Hitler and he's a dictator and he's about to put people in concentration camps are the same ones who don't want the Second Amendment?
You got to do that. Right?
Like,
mind blown.
the same people who decide Trump is evil and about to rule the world and is true Nazi are the same
ones
people
who say cops are bad
and evil and are just out there shooting everybody are the same ones who don't want guns in the hands of the populace to protect themselves.
Not just the populace, law-abiding majority citizens that are. The majority citizens that are law-abiding. So, to go back to this original, the amendments weren't supposed to be written to enlarge the federal government's power. It was to make sure that the federal government would not infringe on the rights of the people.
Yeah.
That's all that was. And what they're doing now is, and if you notice, the last few amendments have had this, these shall be carried out by any means necessary through Congress. That's the second clause of that. That's dangerous stuff. What does that mean, right?
Any means necessary. That is scary.
Dude, it is scary. So, like, when we look at the amendments in that light, it's like we're not doing the original intent of the founders. People are like, that's old and antiquated. No. I like my privacy, but government's been violating that.
Yeah.
No, I like my guns.
Dude, and I'll have to put this article up. I just read that the DMV has been selling people's personal data.
Isn't that
to
crazy?
Third-party companies, too. For-profit companies. LexisNexis was one of them. And basically what they do is data mine and then sell the data. DMV is selling your data, your personal information.
Put it up.
Yeah, I will.
But let's talk about this too, right? So let's go. Government agencies. We can only trust the government, right? Why is the government, and this happened to us. We filed, because we're 501. We're not a church. So I don't agree with churches being 501s, but parachurch ministries, we obviously need a covering in the sense of being a nonprofit to operate legally. So we filed as a 501.
Followed the law.
I have done self-evidence taxes since we started. I didn't even need to do the first couple of years because we weren't a 501 yet. And the reason why we weren't a 501 yet is because we were state recognized, but not federally, because it takes over a year to do. So and
it kept getting pushed back.
Us
getting our,
you remember
our
that?
ID. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I still filed our 990s at the end of the year. Still did it. Didn't have to, but I did, right? This year I filed on time. I forgot to send a piece of I just forgot. I didn't read that part, and I spaced it. So they sent it back and saying, "Hey, we noticed. Please describe for us why you didn't attach." I plain blunt forgot. I'm sorry. I sent it back in. You know what they said to me? Because you didn't file on time. Now notice that I filed on time, right? But because I didn't file on time, they charged us a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Check this out: a nonprofit can be held for extortion for taking money just because. But now they're going to take money from a nonprofit that's trying to go out and help kids. When I even put it in a nice letterhead. Forgive me. It's my fault. I didn't see it. I've been doing the taxes on my own for years. You haven't had complaints in the last ones. I did everything by the book, everything that I know that I was supposed to do. Still going to charge this nonprofit a lot of money.
Big part of the budget.
Yeah, a nice handsome sum of the budget, right? Because they said I was a certain amount of days late. I wasn't late. I just forgot that paper. That's all I forgot. And I sent it back in right away.
Yeah.
Remember, I scrambled. You helped me with it. Your wife helped me with it. Scrambled to get it out the door. You know why? Not because I'm afraid. I just want to do things the right way, right? That's all. And still, this is called extortion, guys. How come they can do it and you can't? Not that I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that to somebody. You know what I mean? I have to provide why donors donate and how much. I have to do that. But you don't have to tell me where your money's going? Funny. So we don't have to hold you accountable, but we have to hold ourselves accountable. I'm telling you guys, Thomas Jefferson said it best. Where the people fear the government, that's tyranny. Mm-hmm. And where government fears the people, that's liberty. Folks, the government doesn't fear us. They don't fear us.
I really think the only thing they fear us on are the amount of guns that are still in circulation in the U.S. So that's really the only thing they fear at this point.
Notice, they're getting the minds of the kids in the schools. Not everybody, I have hope, because I travel a lot. But then they go for the moral structure. Freedom, liberty, do what you want, let girls and guys restrooms, all these other things, right? Or vice versa. All these things. So just eroding value systems and all these things. Christianity needs to take a back seat, but if you were Muslim, if you were anything else, you're promoted almost in a sense, right? Then trying to take away our guns. Why are they always going for the people? Why go through a TSA and get searched all the time? You're guilty till proven innocent. Oh, by the way, though, the same people that put up the TSA, but for $150, you can pay to go through it faster. Yeah. Dude, that is extortion.
And they have like a 95% fail rate when they're tested.
Dude, that is freaking extortion.
I think it's a two-prong attack because I think a lot of it is subconscious. I really believe a lot of it is subconscious in a movement of gathering power mixed with a population who increasingly wants safety and security. And you have a 24/7 news system that feeds you massacre after massacre and scary moment after scary moment. So then the people go, we're not safe, we're not safe. And it's very easy for some politician to go, I'll make you safer. We'll start an organization called the TSA, and they'll protect you because people took planes and hijacked them. We've got to now make you safer because this is a threat. And everybody goes, well, that's logical. That's reasonable. The problem is, once you start eroding your liberty, you're giving in to this sense of security and safety, but you're also giving in to being controlled.
That's right.
And you're giving in to somebody having power over you.
Thank you for explaining that, dude.
Right? Because a lot of people don't understand there's that very dangerous tension between security and safety and liberty.
Yeah.
I use the example, I can make you very safe. I'll put you in a 10-foot by 10-foot padded room, and we'll give you 3 meals a day. You're safe.
You can have cable TV.
Yep.
You can, everything will be paid for. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're safe. You are protected from cradle to grave. No problems whatsoever. You know what is going to happen? You're going to want freedom. You're going to want to step out and get away from that. There is something to a little bit of risk in life because it gives you agency. It gives you freedom.
Yeah, wasn't it Patrick Henry that said, I prefer dangerous liberty over peaceful slavery. Mm-hmm. Dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And I want to talk about too, like it's even coming to our states, guys. And some of you may think, oh, toll roads are good, but already our taxes pay for these roads.
Yeah.
And then we have to toll them. And if you're on that road and you don't pay the toll because you don't have a tag, and like for me, it's happened many times when I go through New York. The Google Maps leads you right through tolls, and I keep forgetting to turn it off. Well, if you don't have a tag thing, they send it to your house, and because as soon as you get it, it's already got a late fee attached to it, so it was a $4 toll with a $50 tag on it.
And do you remember? Carrie even took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. There was some random donation to some organization. I don't remember what the organization was, but you automatically took out my money to donate to an organization that I may or may not agree with.
So they did it as
I don't have the choice.
By the way, your toll isn't just going to us, it's going to the store. I don't care who it's going to. I don't want you to take my money.
Yeah.
That's mine.
And I think roadway systems are a perfect example. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it as a perfect example of what general welfare is actually supposed to be about. Okay. And feel free to disagree with me on this. But it's the idea of this is something that everybody needs and uses. So something that it's not something that you pay into. You know what I mean? Like where people
we do.
Well,
our taxes every year.
Our taxes pay in.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is like it's different from something like healthcare. You know what I mean?
Right. But what I'm saying, here's why I disagree with you in this respect. Yes, it is part of general welfare. Yes, I would give my taxes to build roads. That's actually legal. You're supposed to do that, right? But to add an extra toll, it's not.
I agree with you on the tolls. Right. I'm just saying roads in general.
Oh yeah, roads in general.
I disagree with tolls.
I agree with you on the
roads in general.
The bridges.
That's what general welfare is supposed to be about.
Yes, it's to make sure that the states are free and liberated. That's the whole purpose of the general welfare clause, right? And to have roads and all these things. That's constitutional. I understand because we all use them, right? I don't mind paying it when I was in Minnesota, extra taxes for those big plows to come. I'm cool with that. I don't want to go out there and plow my road.
We all need it.
Right. Totally down for that. This is what the issue is. You know why they have toll roads? Because we need more money to fix our roads. No, you mismanaged.
Yeah.
I can promise you mismanaged those funds. So my buddy from Michigan called me and he said, hey, they raised our taxes in our city to build a playground. It's going to take 2 years. I'm like, cool. So are they going to stop taxing you after those 2 years?
Of course not.
No. I said, so what's that money going to go to? So do you think that was an excuse to get more tax? Heck yeah, it was an excuse to get more taxes out of it.
In Michigan,
that's extortion.
The governor who won, her whole campaign was fixing the roads. Come on. Everybody for decades
that's all
has
they
been talking
campaign
about
on.
Fixing the roads,
And dude,
fixing the roads.
They have not stopped raising taxes to fix those roads. When's enough?
They were actually, I don't remember, a huge gas tax increase too in order to do it, which that's how they always go is, okay, we're going to just raise gas tax. That nails everybody. That nails the economy. That nails everything. And I guarantee you those roads will not be any better 5 years down the road.
Right. You know, California is $1 more than we are.
Yeah.
Easy in gas, right?
Yeah.
And here's this, and I kind of want to bring this up too, because we talked about it when we first started the podcast a few days ago. This Sean Feucht, he's running for Congress. He's a Christian guy out of California, which is really cool. We support him. I mean, especially we want Christians to be a part of Congress. Matter of fact, it was John Jay, our first Supreme Court justice, who started the first American Bible Society, by the way. A Supreme Court judge started the American Bible Society, y'all. Think about that. He said, Providence, God, has given to our people the choice of their rulers. It is our duty as well as a privilege and interest of a Christian nation to select and prefer Christians for those things. Cool. He said this. New poll shows 75% of conservatives in California are considering leaving due to high taxes and insane political culture.
Insane? Understatement.
So he says this. This is his tweet. This is, what day was this? October 3rd. He said, so why did we choose to run in arguably the most difficult state in America? Because we believe the people have had enough. Amen. Yeah. That's it. Now, let's talk about this. Because you and I, and I feel bad because I always kind of bring out the other side, like not devil's advocate, just cautions, warnings, right?
Yeah, we tend to critique.
And critique isn't bad in the sense that we're trying to make this dude better because, like, I want him to win.
Yeah.
I do. I believe his heart's right. I believe, dude, no idiot would get involved in politics to fix a nation if your heart wasn't somewhat benevolent. So, you know, the Nancy Pelosi's and all those things, yeah, they may have done, but I believe when they first started, like they wanted to do this. And of course, bribery can get in there and all these things. And I don't know people's situations. And I only judge people by their policies and their actions, right? I don't know their intents. I don't know, you know, how far they've dug into this stuff. I don't know if Nancy tripped up one time and got caught on camera and now she's being extorted. I don't know, dude. Crap happens like that in governments all the time.
But I think for the most part, you're right, that they see a problem, they see a need, and they think, okay, how can I fix this? I think there's plenty of them that there's also this part of, I want power, I want admiration, I want fame, I want whatever.
I believe the new ones, the Alien Omars and the AOCs, well, they're blunt about it, dude.
I think they've also got this ideological passion to them too. You know what I mean? Like they.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I think AOC especially, like she believes in socialism,
right?
So she wants to tear it all down to build socialism.
But she knows as well as we all do, dude. She knows as well as we all do, right? That her ideas are unrealistic at best, right? So that's the problem. Her ideas are so unrealistic at best that it doesn't even make sense that she puts down these, you know, the Green New Deal and all these things. So that's why I'm saying I think the motives are different on this one, not because of you know, maybe she wants to help the people of New York and the people of the nation, and right, she wants to help people all over but when you do that, you actually at least have some kind of a plan. I think you have something that you can kind of gum for. I mean,
she had the Green New Deal. It was 5 pages. How many more pages do you want?
Right. No. Cool. It was only 5 pages. But she knew as well as anybody, that was unrealistic. Like raising taxes and getting rid of fuel cars. And what, are you crazy? Well, at least I did something. No, that was stupid. That doesn't mean I'm not calling her stupid. I'm saying what she did was stupid. She's probably pretty intelligent. I don't know. I've never met her before, right? So sometimes when she talks, I mean, it's like, okay, you can hold your own, but she ain't no Tulsi Gabbard.
No.
Dude, we said this before. That woman,
I would be tempted.
A little twist. That girl would be conservative in a second. I believe she's got principles. I believe she's running for the good of the nation. I do believe that.
And we may not exactly agree. Why she won't win the Democrat primary.
I know, because she doesn't fall in line with their agendas, right? No. I believe she would. And to be honest with you, I'd be like, that's cool. I can see what, you know, I don't agree with everything. But dude, I didn't agree with everything with Trump. You know what I mean? I didn't agree with everything he did or said, or still don't agree with everything he does. I don't agree with everything. But best pick for the nation was that dude. As far as policies, the pro-life agenda, all these things, I agree, right? You know what else I find funny too about President Trump? They stopped funding overseas abortions. Did you see that recently? It was something about overseas abortions. Yeah. How come we could do that all over the world but not here?
Yeah, interesting.
It's our country, man. Our country, right? I don't understand. So back to Sean.
Yes, which.
Go ahead.
And I want to kind of intro this because I want to play his campaign video.
Yeah.
So he had a campaign video, and there's some strengths to it and some weaknesses, and we want to point out both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that campaign video, and then we're going to talk about it. So grab your popcorn, get ready.
I like this.
Go.
What is happening to the identity of America?
Police in riot gear facing off.
We're seeing violent demonstrations.
5 officers were killed.
Our leaders are running it into the ground with their liberal ethics and political agendas.
44% would prefer to live under a socialist system.
I'm the boss. How about that?
It is called the beast, or the train of death.
Well, guess what? First thing I do is going to repeal this Trump tax cut.
Family values are being eroded, the unborn are sacrificed, morals are low, and taxes are high. Our leaders in Congress have failed us time and time again. America's not just a country. It's a legacy built on a foundation of hope and truth, a beacon to the world. Millions want to come here. Even more wish they could be like us. If we lose our identity, how will the world learn from our greatness? Is there any hope? Can we trust anyone? We need a new generation of leaders. Leaders who don't seek a career, but are willing to sacrifice their careers to fight for what is right. Leaders like Sean Feucht. Sean doesn't look like the average politician because he's not. A man of faith, a man of mission, a man of character and integrity. Not driven by ego, but purpose. A man who knows what feeding the hungry, protecting the vulnerable, and fighting for one's beliefs is all about. A man with a guitar and a purpose. A father with a loving heart. A leader with track record. Sean is taking a stand millions like you and I need to take if we are determined to better the future for our children and grandchildren. He is known and loved by millions for his music and missions. Now, he is willing to sacrifice his calling for a greater one, to restore the identity, values, and morals of this great nation. How do I know this? I'm his wife and the mother of his 4 children. As a family, we are committed to this race. For us, our children, and our future.
I'm not going to sit back and watch and wait. It's time for my generation to step forward and join the fight for America. Stand with me and let's take action and become the solution. I'm Sean Feucht and I'm running for Congress.
So, what do you think?
Wonderful video,
right?
Like, totally right. I agree with him 100%. There's a lot of crap going on in Washington. What did he say? A lack of morals and too many taxes. That's why he's running, basically. He's right.
Everybody agrees, right?
He agrees. And I'm sure a lot of liberals agree there's a lot of taxes that are going to useless things. You know what I mean? I find it funny they've taxed the state to death, right? But they have a water problem. They have all these problems, right? Homeless problems. And, you know, those same people are the ones on the front lines always saying that America's bad when you can't even fix your own state. Hey, it is what it is, right? And that's my opinion. That's just my opinion, right? You could disagree with, and that's cool. You can disagree with me. But there's only one thing that I think that I just didn't hear. And I actually said this in Texas when 2 candidates were announced they're running for the same thing, Congress. Yep. They had great speeches, man. And I believe those conservative dudes in Texas and this woman that was running, she was principled. She really wanted to. She stood on the Second Amendment, all these things. Not one time did any of them, including Sean, mention the Constitution. That is the only caution I have. Yeah. Is the purpose of government is to abide by its law. That's it. You know, I don't want you to fix the roads. I don't want you to heal divides. The church does that. Government doesn't have benevolence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be the only... Look, can we say this, you and I? We want to promote this dude.
Absolutely.
I agree he should run. But we need to get a constitution in his hands, a pocket, and a course, and something that he can grab onto and say, oh, this is it.
And here's why. A lot of times, and people rightfully so, I was reading an article on Red State about this guy. And the whole article, now, the journalist who is writing the article has made a career out of going after Christians and going after Christians in politics and all that. So I understand the slant that it's coming from. But his whole article about Sean was basically, here's this Christian that wants dominion over the government. So an idea of a theocracy. And that's why you and I are pointing this out, is all we're saying is, look, absolutely we agree with you that the society and the culture needs to change, that morals need to be invested back into our nation.
Right.
We agree with you. We agree that the light of Christ should shine brightly in this nation. The problem is, if we don't say, but we are held to the Constitution as our framework, then people very quickly make the connection, oh, you want to be a politician, you want to put Christianity back in center place, you want a theocracy. You want to start ruling like the moral right in the 80s. That's a problem. And if you do want to do that, then we need to have a discussion, because the Constitution is supposed to be the government framework. Get the people to become Christian. Get the people to become spiritually respectful.
Exactly.
Then the government will become healthy again. And
go ahead.
And that's exactly why we're bringing up the Constitution, is because if you don't have that framework, it very quickly and very easily gets dangerous, where we would point the fingers at somebody who's Muslim getting into a government body. Look at Ilhan Omar. People look at her on the right and they say, she wants Sharia law. She wants to put Islam front and center in the government. She believes this is good. Well, you have a problem with that, right? Why? Because you don't want that theocracy ruling over you. There are plenty of people who don't want Christian theocracy ruling over them, and I agree with
That's what I'm talking about, dude. Is like, I agree that we don't need theocrats running, and that God should be like men should say they have this divine revelation from God to run government.
Congress shall make no law.
Thank you. So they knew the dangers of that happening because they just left a nation or a system that did that. So they knew, holy smokes, this guy thinks he's the Pope. And guess what he started doing? Stacking courts. He started trying people overseas, so you couldn't even see your family. It wasn't a speedy trial. It was, in some cases, guys would be in jail for years, all these things. That's what scares us the most, is we're coming into this kind of thing again.
And when somebody says they have the authority from God,
who can deny that?
Yeah.
Like when someone says, man, I heard God say, okay, it's like, that's a pretty lofty thing to say.
And I'm really glad you brought up what the founding fathers and the colonies were trying to escape. They were trying to escape a theocracy.
100%.
Because the whole lineage of the king, the idea was they are put there in authority by God. They are God's chosen line to be in that kingship. And it was Locke who really tore that apart completely and said, this is not true. So we want a theocracy? No. We want the opposite. Because we know the danger of somebody being in a political authority who says they are placed there by God.
Let's take this a step further then. What we really want is liberty.
Yes. Free will.
A moral people that could keep its own law.
Free will.
That's it. Our Constitution was only made for a moral religious people. Notice, people, not government.
Yeah.
Dude, they knew what they were saying.
And I was... on Tuesday night, I was teaching the men's study, and I was talking about King
I heard
Saul.
that went well, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And when God talks to the people about Saul, he tells them, look, as you go, so will your king.
Ooh.
You follow my rules, you follow my commands, you're obedient to me.
Everything will be good.
You'll be good. But notice he put the people first and said the king will follow.
Right.
And that's how it is. Look, just what I said earlier. Your government will follow you. We look at the government, we go, they're so corrupt and wicked, and they are just a mirror of who we are.
Right.
Because we elect them and put them in power. You want to know why Trump offends everybody? Because Trump is the mirror for who we are as a nation towards each other.
100%. 100%.
And if you try to tell me that the media is respectful and kind and understanding of who Trump is and who the right is and who conservatives are, you're crazy. Because for years, conservatives have been getting nailed and lambasted by the media. And you know what happened? They saw Trump, who put a middle finger to the media, and they finally said, I like this guy. He's willing to stand up against the media. And conservatives are applauding it.
And pretty much ran on that. Like,
yeah,
to heck with everybody. We can do this ourselves.
Yeah,
like,
screw you guys.
Not the best campaign. I mean, like, to run on almost nothing, you know what I mean? But that was pretty good. Like, but isn't that, but again, how easily we are swayed by words.
Yeah.
Someone has the guts to stand up. So it took guts. So he could do it and you couldn't. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary to me. Like, if he can do it, right? And he's 70 something, you can't?
Yeah. And our fighting is becoming more and more disrespectful and lowbrow. And that's, like I said, our government is a mirror of who we are as a people.
Exactly.
And we can't allow that anymore. We can't do that anymore. We've got to change ourselves and put ourselves into a different light. Now, this is why I think, as we end this out, this is why I think Sean is so important. Because he
What a
sees
crazy
the problem.
podcast. We weren't supposed to talk about half the stuff. But go ahead, dude, because you brought up some really, dude, I applaud you. You brought up a lot of really good points for even me to ponder because, one thing I love about, hold your thought.
Yeah.
One thing I love about us is we don't always agree.
No.
And that's liberty. We shouldn't always agree. Do we agree on many things? Of course. We're both conservative and Christian. I believe patriots and constitutionalists. But there's going to be differences of how much liberty is too much liberty and how much, government is necessary. So go ahead.
And that's usually where we end up. We disagree in the nuances sometimes, which is fun because I like having you weigh those questions and go, no, I don't see it this way because
we'll get Paul back with us to do a trio, and he disagrees with us sometimes
because he and I you were watching that Facebook conversation thread that we were having about
the debt,
the deficit. What are representatives actually supposed to be doing in government? Can we sell federal lands or not?
Yeah.
Which was a great conversation.
It was. It was. And he's more on the libertarian side than we are.
He is far libertarian.
Yeah.
More power to him. I love the thoughts that he brings.
Yeah, very good insight. So back to Sean.
Yes. So Sean sees the problem, and I applaud him for it. And Sean is saying, look, somebody has to stand up. I applaud him for it.
He's right.
He is.
100%
There's a problem. All of us see it.
And we support him.
The issue is, what's the solution? And we agree. Look, Sean, we agree with the solutions you're putting forth as it pertains to the people. We just want you to have the correct solution for the government.
That's right.
Because if you try to plug in that solution into the wrong problem, it'll fail. You know what I mean?
It almost would have been better for him to run for state Senate Congress.
Yeah, I think so.
Instead of federal?
Yes.
Because if you're really talking about California, well, then shoot, why don't you fix there? Fix that government, man. All that spending, dude, So, I mean, I don't know. Like, first off, everything he does aside, he's got a cool nonprofit. He's been helping, kids and all these things. None of that is in question, man. We know obviously the integrity's there. You don't run when you don't have integrity because you're going to get lambasted as a Christian. Trust me.
Yep.
And so he's obviously got the integrity and the wherewithal to do this. All we're saying is, man, make sure the government's limited. Make sure that there's less government than more government.
Don't grow it to get your
way,
your
beliefs. Yeah.
And that was something that you and I had been talking about with him was how is he going to use government? Is he going to use it as a vehicle to start expanding programs,
social programs,
and from a Christian point of view, because we've talked about the danger of creating a socialist Christianity.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're just pointing out, look, dude, we love what you stand for. Just give us more information. Tell us the things that are correct. Don't just say, well, we're all Christians, so let's start throwing everybody's money at the problems.
Exactly. Exactly. No, man. And so, again, guys, we love that you tune in. This went way different than what we thought. We didn't even plan on talking about half the stuff we did. But that's what I love is like we can just off the cuff things that are in our hearts, bring Constitution and Bible to it, and make sure that we're talking from a Christian perspective. And the word's clear, man. Study and show yourself approved to God. Workman that needeth not to be ashamed, like rightly dividing the word of truth. All we're here to do is that. We don't have anything else to stand on except that,
Yeah.
And we want to make the Bible applicable to you and to make it known to you, right? We're not just standing because we're Christian. We're hopefully standing, and you guys see that we're doing this because of its godliness. And like, we just want the Lord to be the ruler of us. The government just needs to make sure that I have the freedom to do that. Just protect it and secure it. That's all, right? So, guys, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share the crap out of it. You know why? Because it gets us to more people. The message needs to get out to more people. And if you know any other people who are constitutional, who are godly, or love America, even if they're not on the side of God, like and stuff, subscribe to their stuff too and share them. We got a bunch of people out there that really, really need support. And a lot of them are small, and we don't want to go on Fox. We don't want none of that stuff. We like where we're at and feeding the people as best we can. So again, guys, tune in. Was it next week? We're going to be our podcast 52, which is the year podcast. Which
we'll do
exciting.
A celebration somehow for it.
Hopefully maybe have a new studio by then or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? But God bless you guys. Again, thank you. Go on theselfevidenttruth.com if you want to help us with more. There's some more information going on. Again, don't miss out on the October 12th event coming up. Also, Mike will be in Ohio at the end of October. Go ahead.
No.
That's it? Okay, cool. We love you guys so much. Thank you again for all your prayers and support. God bless you. We love you. See you next week.
Love you guys.